And we are back again like hack. And then it is the 11th of the 9th, 2025. The time is 25 minutes to 9. And here with me is the one that they call Shazena, aka the A-side. 1/3 of the legendary trio that is the Shakedown. How are you doing, good sir?
Yeah, good.
It doesn't matter how you're doing.
Yes, got
it doesn't
first.
matter how you're doing because there's a very many F1 centric thread at which we need to pull. Housekeeping. If you like God tier F1 insights, then go and check out Shez on the Tired GP podcast or podcasting well, not all podcasting platforms yet, but definitely on the YouTube. Shez, there's a couple of things that I want to pick your brain on here. In the first instance, Maximilian Verstappen has given to Mundo Deportivo some attributes around the greatest on the grid of the 20. Here's what he said. I'm going to put them up on screen. Mate, I want to talk about them. As Max Verstappen nailed this because he's left Lewis Hamilton out of every single one of them. The traits, qualifying, racing, intelligence, overtaking, defending, mentality. Qualifying is given to Charles Leclerc. Racing he's given to Fernando Alonso. Intelligence, Alonso. Overtaking, Leclerc. Defending, Alonso. Mentality, Alonso. No, Sir Lewis Hamilton to be seen, not for love nor money. Here's the thing, Shez. I want to discuss each and every single one of these attributes, or argue each and every single one of these attributes. I need a name from you. Qualifying, current grid of the 20. Who have you got, chap?
Including Max, because Max wasn't allowed to include himself.
I exclude Max to do like for like, because then you just get Max.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want a Max whitewash. No, we don't want
that. Then yeah, qualifying, I'd go Charles. I think it's nip and tuck a little bit with George, but I think that Leclerc probably gets more out of a car that suits him than George does out of a perfect car.
How very dare you, chap?
Am I wrong?
I feel it's disgusting already. Does Charles Leclerc not make too many mistakes of the unforced variety, even in qualifying, to be top of this list, Shez?
Yeah, sure. When was the last time?
I mean, yeah, fair play. We've always had this argument, right? He's minimising for them, but he's still got them, Joe. He's still made a couple of mistakes in FP1 over the course of this. So you know that he has, Shez.
Yeah, but so
it into the barrier. I can't remember what race.
But you know, so did Max Verstappen twice in free practice in Zandvoort.
What aboutery? Different levels.
But it's
different levels.
But it's okay for Max to have a mistake. But he's still amazing. But if Charles has a mistake, whoa, that's a defining error.
Problem is, Shez. Problem is, it's hard to it's hard not to convict Charles Leclerc when he's been a serial killer career to date as far as errors of the unforced. So to a certain extent, I agree with you. He's minimising for his mistakes now, but you forgive me.
Still getting pace out of the car.
No, of course. Modern day Gilles Villeneuve and that. But then I leverage that moniker and then he eats it into the barrier again. The problem is, Shez.
I don't think it makes any difference.
Shez, the problem is this, mate. When you've had a history of making mistakes of material consequence so frequently, then you'll forgive me for tarring you with that historic brush now. I don't think I can give it to Leclerc, in qualifying. No, he's rapid. He's the fastest point to point.
And what is qualifying about?
No, agreed. But across all different circumstances, though, when he's got a car underneath him, when he doesn't have a car underneath him, I think he does. I think he's been, he got a pole position out of this Ferrari in Hungary. All right, I'll give it to Charles begrudgingly. We'll give qualifying to Charles. Let's move on. Racing. Max deems Alonso to be the best racer of the current grid.
I think there's a few contenders for this though now. Don't you?
Educate me. Go on.
Well, it's not an education. You've talked about it yourself. Like, okay, it's a very small sample set, but the way Oscar Piastri was driving against him in Miami, that was pretty special. Outmaxing Max
in a car that's 10 times as quick.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but you've got what you've got at your disposal, right? But I don't see him making a lot of wheel-to-wheel mistakes. And even when he's up against a driver in exactly the same car as him, he knows when to take the opportunity and he takes it first time. Surely that's what racing is about.
Um,
I'm not convinced he is the best, but I think there's a conversation to be had that he's in there.
it's techie, this. It's techie. Let me reference Charles Edward Cheese. Sir Charles Edward Cheese, the legend that is, says that Charles is up there. Only he and Max have ever been beaten by a teammate. Correct. Oof. Listen, it's techie, this. It's techie as far as shot. I don't even know whether that's right, Charles. Oh, and by the way, Charles continues, King George is oh so disrespected. You know who put me on to the fact that George gets disrespected too much, Shez? You?
Yeah, he does get disrespected.
I remember you telling me that he gets disrespected, that in terms of absolute pace, he's right up there. Go on then. So who are you saying is the best racer?
Oh, so this one's really tough, man. Come on, the best racer. By racing, can we just define terms that we're talking about?
Go on.
About wheel to wheel, situational. If you're looking for someone to defend or to overtake, they're the person.
Yeah, correct. To save a diving puppy, you need to get a last
lap
diving
puppy.
Dying puppy. To save a dying puppy, it's Abu Dhabi. It's the last lap. Lewis is down the road, but on old medium compound tyres. You need to get the overtaking manoeuvre done to win a championship, to save your career and your life potentially. Who are you picking? Not named Max Verstappen.
This is so hard. There's so many contenders for this one. I don't agree with Max. First of all, I don't think of the current grid it is Fernando Alonso. I think at one time it might have been, but it isn't. I think there are better contenders for that now. I think it. You know, I'm going to go for. I'm going to say Piastri, because I think Russell wins it for a different category.
You know what? I think OJP is a stealthy pick here. Not a bit too green though. Still,
yeah, that's what I mean. It is a small sample set. It's definitely a small sample set. But if you're I think if you're going up against Max, Leclerc is amazing. And actually he does make good moves wheel to wheel, but then Oscar went round the outside of him into the first Lesmo on lap 1 of Monza 2025.
Yeah, you got to go Oscar, haven't you? On recent foot, there is recency bias at play here, but you got to go Oscar.
Yeah, there is. But the highs are there, aren't they? Like the ability that the moves that he pulls are there. You can start to count them off, like the he's Monza last year, Monza this year, Baku last year.
Baku last year is the one, chap. That convinces me. That's your exhibit A, B, and C.
So this I think seals the deal, right? Our two defining moments are different. Yours is Baku, mine's Miami, and the fact that both of those can be up there as contenders for best move of a season.
He's ridiculous. And then the overtake earlier on in this season on Lewis round the outside to trailer. Chaos. He's got a resume, has OJP. I think he goes for this one. Although Sir Charles Edward Cheese in the chat, legendary and far too generous as always, sir, says that Fernando El Plan Alonso is overrated. Address this for me, Shez. Chaos.
I think
as at the time of writing, is Fernando overrated?
One thing I will say about Max's picks, right, is that it tells you something about his psyche. Like, I don't think he would ever pick a driver he actually thought might compete against him in any one of these attributes. He's always thinking about someone that he's got covered, and that's why I don't think this reflects very well on Alonso or Leclerc. Particularly,
because you think it's a subtle disrespect that he thinks he can nail them both.
Yeah. Although he's famed for speaking.
Who won the grid, Shez? Does Max think that he can't nail? Is the question.
It's not about not believing he can nail anyone. I'm sure he thinks he can nail everyone, and that's why if he had been allowed to use himself, he would have said him every category in the same way that he said that if I was in the W11, I would have gone much faster.
Right. I mean, that was the argument. Everybody was saying that Max is so humble, and he's humble. Do you know what I mean? But when push comes to shove,
he's still a competitor.
Put me in the W11, and it would have gone quicker.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Go on. Let me ask you another question, Shez.
Yeah.
Disrespect on Sir Lewis,
Alonso.
not for him to go into. Go on, address the Alonso. Do you think Alonso is overrated at the time of writing?
I think at the time of writing, there's an argument. We're not seeing him at the front often enough to see what he can still do, and there aren't enough big moments in races for us to really see that the Fernando of old is still there. And there are too many competitors right now who are doing such a good job to say that he is better than them when he hasn't been tested against them. I think overrated, maybe a bit harsh, but I think we're getting to the point where his star is waning a little bit. Although I did quite like what he did. Who was he up against in a little pit stop race in Monza?
I couldn't even tell you, mate.
I knew you wouldn't be able to. I can't remember either. but it was like the way he sort of braked, and because he out dragged. Was it Ocon? It might have been Ocon that he out dragged out of the pits, being very, very wily.
Couldn't tell you, chap. I don't pay attention to back markers.
He made someone delay their exit out of their pit box by maximizing his entry into the pit lane. It was very clever. That's what I mean.
You know what? If I'm going to argue, if I'm going to play devil's advocate against Sir Charles Edward Cheese's assertion, I just like the way that Fernando is still a wily old fox. I like the fact that he can hold off Checo Perez in 2022 at Brazil, notwithstanding the fact that he's in materially worse machine. I like the fact that we saw the video over the past couple of hours or days even when Fernando's referencing telling Mark Webber, like playing wet weather chicken with Mark Webber.
That.
He's a gangster. He's a gangster.
Okay, but that's why, again, I don't think racing is currently his best attribute.
Go on, say more, sir.
What in that we're gonna cut. Don't
bury the lead.
Don't add spoilers where they don't need to be added.
All right, cool. Let's go to that. So you've got. Let me in summary then. For qualifying, let me bring this up because this is important. Let the people see what we're referring to here. This again, for those of you just joining, Max Verstappen has asserted the following: that of the current 20 on the grid, that qualifying he'd give the best to Charles Leclerc, racing he'd give that to Alonso. Who are you giving, by the way? Did he say George? Shez, this is important.
For what? For
racing?
No, I gave it to OJP.
Oscar.
Yeah.
Can I pitch?
You can pitch anyone.
Can I not pitch Sir Lewis? That I know he's 40. I know he's 40 years old, and I know this isn't his best season. But racing, lest we forget 2021, Brazil, turn 4, lap, whatever it was, like race craft. Can we not make a case for Sir Lewis yet and still as at the 11th of the night, 2025?
Yeah, when he's got a car under him, he pulls off some pretty sparkling moves, and we were talking about this the other day as well. That he's got little characteristics. Like anyone that's got a characteristic way of getting past someone, I think is in the conversation. His little dummy that he's done quite a few times, even in the ground effect era, is pretty special. He knows where to put his car. He knows how to intimidate without being over the line. So I do like it as a pick, but we're going a few seasons now before we can say it's Lewis. Although you stick him a bit further back on the grid, and you get a Spa 2025, and you get you get what we got in Monza as well. Like he can overtake, but it seems to be against sort of slower cars at the moment.
Oh my God, Shez! The humanity.
But you understand
what dismissing out of. I understand, chap. You're speaking facts. But if you'd rewind, if we're having this conversation in 2-1, there's no way that I'm saying in 2-5 that something like that's going to come out your mouth. It still feels like blasphemy, even though it's evidence based. Shez,
I need him in a front running car. I need him performing as he should in a front running car, and then we can have that conversation again.
Cool. I'm going with you. OJP for racing. Intelligence, therefore. Intelligence. Max has gone Fernando Alonso. Matthew Brown says, I think Max just gave these names to have a good laugh. Who have you got, Shazena, for best intelligence, the highest race IQ on the grid of the current 20.
Okay, should we go through some contenders? Because I think Alonso, this is where I think Alonso might have it. So I think he's a contender for this one. I mean, your man Sainz is probably in there as well, as a contender.
I like that.
And then Russell. This is where I think Russell is probably, again, this is his category. If he's going to win one, this will be the one.
More than Fernando. More than
I'm not saying
Fernando.
no. Well, this is where we have an argument about
Go
it.
on then. Let's go. I think Fernando Alonso is probably of. I think Fernando Alonso. I don't think anybody can talk to you.
Yeah,
potentially even Max included.
Yeah,
that level of like he is. And to be fair, I think Max is close. Max is close with the extra bandwidth that he has, and as soon as Lando and Oscar switch, he sees. Do you know what I mean? Like, he knows that the switch has happened and comes over the radio and asks GP. Lando Norris last year, was it Qatar? As soon as the yellow flags, he's like, did Lando lift on the yellow? Like, he's dialed in, but I think Alonso is just like,
it's a complete like 3D view of everything that's going on around him, and he's so preemptive. That thing that he did, was it in Qatar last year that Oscar copied, where he when he was coming around the start finish in practice and qualifying and on the parade laps, he was going over his pit box and going a bit slower there, just to put a bit more rubber down on that side of
Hungary.
Right.
Yeah. Hungary or Austria, I can't remember. Gangster, regardless.
But even what he did in Sochi, remember Sochi in 21, where he was like, the rules basically say that if I go this way round the bollard, even if I'm off track, I can still overtake everyone. So he didn't even bother trying to go for the first corner in Sochi. Do you remember?
Yeah, he's gangster.
It's so much fun.
He's
the only black mark against Alonso's intelligence, so he can't shut up about it. Like, he has to tell you what he has done.
Yeah, because 99% of the F1 muggles community will go right over their head. It's too nuanced and subtle. His automotive pugilistic sleight of hand is too. I think he's right for it. It doesn't speak to humble or humility necessarily. No,
definitely doesn't.
But that you can't. I
But
don't
his is a funny mentality, because I think once he's in a car, you like in 2023 at the beginning of the season when he was getting podium after podium. Actually, a lot of that went away. A lot of it was much more about, my team's really good, they built me a good car, blah 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 blah. As soon as he's back in the pack again, and the only person anyone can really compare him to is Lance Stroll, and he's walloping him, suddenly it's like, that's the best race of my life. That was the best qualifying I've ever done. And I did this thing and I did that thing.
Rhetoric's never been good, chap. But don't conflate him being able to politic with intelligence. You've got to give him.
But maybe that's part of it. Maybe that is actually part of the whole intelligence.
No. I think we're talking about. I think we're talking about. I think the reference is on track intelligence. If you're talking about,
it's all ability, part and parcel. You think so? That Mark Webber thing, right? Right. Yes, it was an off-track conversation, but it had a very real on-track consequence.
Yeah, but that's the point that I'm making to you, chap. That's the point that I'm making to you. Everything under the umbrella heading of on-track intelligence and everything pertaining to it. I think Alonso is here. If you're talking about, I don't know, chap, I'm going back to contradict. If you're talking about Hungary 2007, again, God tier levels, right? Because he's calculated exactly the diff that he needs.
How do we forget to talk about that? I mean,
that's levels, chap. Unprecedented levels that he's calculated that all in his head. He's 200 IQ racing intelligence. He's a different grave in still. So I've got to give him that.
Me too.
I've got to give him that. Go on then, chap. Overtaking. For those of you just jumping in, we're talking about Max Verstappen's assertions that these guys on the right-hand side of your screen are the best by the characteristics of the current 20 on the grid. Qualifying is given to Charles Leclerc. We've addressed that already. Racing given to Alonso. Intelligence, Alonso. Overtaking is Charles Leclerc. To that, Shez, you respond how?
I say I totally understand why he would say that. Because they've been in a fight since the day of the car, haven't they? When Max was off winning the World Kart Championship, Leclerc was his closest competitor. It's just an incident. They've been going at it like
the race.
Do you know what I mean? They've been going at it hammer and tongs since they were tiny little kids. They know each other inside out, right? Which is why Leclerc's so good against Max. In a way that I don't think he necessarily is against everyone.
Go on and explain that, chap, if we're going to get techie for a second. What is it about the way that Charles races Max that's so different and so much more effective than the way that Lando races him, as an example? Like, what is it specifically?
Well, I think Lando referenced this, right? Is that he is learning Max as he is going. That because we talked about this dance, haven't we? That everyone has to sort of learn when they're going up against Max, like the rules of the road. And Lando has been in the process of learning that. Well, he was at the end of 2024 in the latter half of it anyway, and he hasn't really had that to do this season, but he's still learning what the rules of engagement are, what he can and can't get away with, what where Max will place himself that will give him the opening. Whereas Leclerc's had that. Leclerc's had lived experience of going up against Max from year dot, and what I'm a great proponent of, as always, is nurture versus nature, and this is the very definition of that. That he's built up a library. Leclerc is a library of moves, counter moves, an understanding of what his opponent is going to do. It is like 200-mile-per-hour chess with them, but they've played against each other so many times. It's like you and me going back and forth with each other. We've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years now.
True.
Like we know what each other's arguments are. We can predict them before they happen, and I feel like that's what Leclerc has with Max, which is why I think Max says that about Leclerc, but I don't think that means that Leclerc is the best overtaker on the grid.
Who is then?
But this is where I think Lewis then has a bit more. We have a bit more of an argument about Lewis, right?
I think so too. Is the knock on Lewis not that he's what's the word that I'm looking for? The last. Do you remember when Max just bloody not ran Lewis off the road, but do you remember he just like he just moved Lewis aside?
When, Cameron?
It was a couple of races back. It was a couple of races ago, and Lewis came off track, and he was asked about it. He was like, "I did it. I can't even remember it."
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah. But that's yeah.
What's that? How can you then give that guy the best overtaker at the time of writing?
But that's Lewis in his kind of. Lewis seems to have a dichotomy. He always has done, but it's come out more since he's been in uncompetitive machinery. That when he can't be bothered, he just goes, "Can't be bothered." There's no point. Like there isn't a win at the end of this. There isn't a podium at the end of this. I'm not going to beat my teammate by doing this. What is the point? But then you see him when actually, right, I need to be up there with my teammate.
25 points at stake.
Exactly. And then suddenly it's a different Lewis. You get Sochi 2018, when he has to pull a move straight out the pits on Seb Vettel. Bang, it's on, it's there, it's done. Like there's no question that it's going to happen. Or he has to pull a move on Carlos Sainz in Qatar 2023, was it? And again, cheeky little dummy, bang, he's gone.
Yeah, he's there. If there's 25, but I don't want to get into any Sir Lewis slander. But I think Joe, by the way, puts me on the right track. It was Hungary, Cameron, when Max just came past him and just literally got his elbows out as if it was some barge tackle in football. It was chaos. Look at what he does. Look at what Lewis and Max got into last year in Hungary, right? When suddenly actually there's a position on the line. This is the race where Lewis has started the race on pole, right? And when Max tries to get past in there, Lewis just goes, "Well, you could come past, or I could just do a cheeky little no." Is that a knock on Lewis? They always talk about Leo Messi to use an analogy that the question about Leo is that he's brilliant in Barcelona when it's all sun and he's got all the team around him and Busquets and all the great players, etc. But could Leo Messi do it on a rainy day in Sunderland? That was always the question. Can Lewis do it on a rainy day in Sunderland, to extend the euphemism, when he doesn't have all the tools and the car's not what it needs to be, and he hasn't got the confidence in the rear, and he's racing for 5th and not 1st?
I would say that 2023 suggests and demonstrates that he can. He never had a car really that could do it. He didn't have, the second fastest car on the grid that year necessarily, not for the entirety of it anyway. And he still got 3rd in the championship. And that to me suggests that when he puts his mind to it and just goes like, even though the car's a bit rubbish, I'm just going to max. And it is for him about maximizing points. He is much more Prost-like these days. It's not about individual performances anymore. It tends to be across the entirety of the season. I'm gradually building up points, and suddenly, like, how the heck are you 3rd in the championship? But at the moment, yeah, that's not there. But 2025 particularly seems to be errant. But even here, he's starting to get back to himself.
Discount it. I'll tell you what's happening, Shez. And I can attest to this personally. I'm starting to excuses. No. I think we're all making excuses for one of our favourite drivers ever. Here's why I know. Yeah, I remember a friend of the channel, Matt Bishop, said of Senna that he doesn't even like to look at pictures of Senna in the Rotham's racing Williams overalls, because it taints the legacy. That's not Senna, right? That's like, that almost is, it looks like Photoshop. Yeah. That's not Senna. Senna is McLaren Senna, the dude who got behind the fire-breathing Dragon McLaren Dayglow. That's who Senna was. The Williams Senna almost feels like it's some form of it's an anomaly, it's an aberration or whatever. Like, it just looks like, and I think, Shez, here's my hot take.
Every race he was in, though.
No, he was brilliant. They get it twisted. But I think, I feel the same way about Lewis in their red overalls now. I'm watching Lewis increasingly, but like worryingly so. I'm watching Lewis's interviews on Top Gear more and more, because that's the Lewis that I want to remember. I've stopped, even in the thumbnails, chap. I don't even want to bring in Lewis in the red overalls. I've started bringing in Lewis in the black overalls, because that, I swear, Shez, because that's kind of how I want to remember him.
So I take your point, but Lewis is doing a very Lewis kind of thing at the moment. I don't know why we've tangented onto this.
It's chaos, isn't it?
We're talking about overtaking.
Yeah, we need to keep it. That's me being a poor chairman.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's fine. Everyone knows that I'm a big Lewis fan, and maybe I am making excuses, but the numbers at the moment suggest that he is doing a very Lewis kind of thing, which is he has gone from trying to impose himself upon the car to doing what he was doing at Mercedes. Especially, this was the thing that I really impressed me with Lewis towards in his latter championship seasons, was that even though he was at the top of his game and he had a car that did what he wanted, he still went after more from the engineers, from the car. And that's what he started to do, especially since the summer break at Ferrari. He's let the car come to him, and he's changed what he needs to on the car, and changed what he needs to bring him and the car together, because he is the ultimate symbiotic driver. Like, when him and the car are one, and he's even said it, that like, that's what he's chasing. When him and the car are one, he's unbeatable. I still believe that.
Oof.
But it takes a methodical approach from him to do that. That's what he's now starting to do at Ferrari. Right? I have a bit more hope for the second half of the season. But to your question about a rainy day in Sunderland, well, poor old Max has also had the same problem. That, sure, he absolutely wallops his teammate, but he's not winning races when the car doesn't allow him to, because physics doesn't.
How very dare you, sir? This is a case in point of difference in extents and that kind, sir. I disagree completely.
Yeah.
Max didn't have the car in Suzuka, nor did he have the car in Saudi Arabia, nor did he have the car at the British Grand Prix.
How many races has he won this season?
I mean, okay,
3.
Cool.
Right. And I think he is getting 100% out of that Red Bull in a way that
105.
In a way that Oscar and Lando are probably not getting.
No.
The absolute most out of that McLaren. Yeah. But physics still dictates that even Max at 100% in that RB21, there are certain races that he cannot win.
True. I'd concur with that.
Right,
I would agree.
And that is all I mean by saying that.
It feels like it's veiled sacrilege and blasphemy, Shez. But let's put a pin in that. Matthew the legend, Matthew Brown, excuse me, says Hamilton's true disadvantage is that his driving style requires a perfect setup with no snap over steer. That allows Lewis to steer with one turning motion. Max can live with an edgy car. It's techie. Bear us one sec, Shez. So John, legend out here, gifting membership, says Alonso will be racing in 2045 probably. I'll see you that, Sir John, and I'll raise you another 20 years. Do you know what I mean? OJ is sneaking into this category pretty well. Max on Leclerc for the win, says Isa. And Lazy says fast car merchant is what Sir Lewis Hamilton is. Daniel says no driver that has the drive to race is ever washed. So suffice to say that there's a couple different opinions in there. Let's move on quickly, mate, because I need to pick your brain on a couple of different things as we get through this. Defending, they've got Alonso. In fact, who have you got overtaking? Did you say OJP for overtaking, or have you gone Charles?
No, no, I was going Lewis. I'm still going Lewis for overtaking.
You're a chaos dragon.
Yeah,
you're a chaos dragon. Everything that we've said, I would go OJP. You know,
cool. I've gone. Yeah, I mean, I said OJP for racing,
True.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, there is a very
fine
difference. Yeah, there is a subtle difference. Go on then, defending. Who have you got? Max has Alonso.
Yeah, but you know why he's got Alonso, don't you?
Go on.
San Marino, 2005. Absolutely, that's why he's got him.
And 2006, if I recall correctly, and
2021. Brazil.
I mean, he's not bad, Fernando.
Hungary.
He's not bad. Also Esteban Ocon. Thanks for the favours, chap. Go on then. Who have you got? Fernando Alonso also defending. Take your time. Take a break while you're making that decision. Mention her name, Scuderia Ferrari Engineers, Shazena. Take your time. It's not like we're on a clock or anything. I'll waste away my tyre offset in your dirty air.
Listen, I was actually going to say someone that I think you're going to find a bit controversial. I was going to say Lando.
For defending?
For defending.
In what world? Shez, what are you talking about?
Can't overtake. Can't start. But if he's in front of you, I think he's quite difficult to get past.
You're having a lot. Okay, look, I'll give you credit. After the first 5 laps of the Grand Prix, copy.
When else?
Context is key, sir. Do you know what I mean? There is no one on that grid currently, Shez. Let me just give you some context. There's no one on that grid currently who lost more places over the course of the first lap than Lando Norris did in 2024. That's the truth. That's just the honest truth. Do you know what I mean? Men lie, women lie. Stats and figures cannot, no, do not. So I don't know. That's the caveat. I see where you're going with that, but I can't.
I was just thinking,
but
these are like individual instances. But what else have we got? Sochi 2020 is my exhibit A for that. Up until the rain came, I thought actually, in that race, I thought there is no way that Lewis is not going to get past him on track, right? And then the rain came, and that was the only point at which he started to close in. And even then, it needed the downpour and Lando to make a complete balls up on the tyres for Lewis to get past.
You know, I think you're missing somebody more obvious than Lando. No, I think that's a bit reaching.
Go on, I probably am missing someone.
If you recall,
yeah,
in 2024, Brazil, Maximilian Verstappen is on a charge going through the pack. There was one man.
Yeah, you're going to say Esteban Ocon.
No, it's a good shout though. But there was one man
that he came up against. He couldn't get past.
Who was that?
Leclerc.
Yeah. Am I right or wrong, Shez?
I think just can't give Leclerc everything though.
Mate, I don't care. I make no apology for not having a diversified greatness portfolio. I think Charles Leclerc is quite difficult to overtake. I don't think he get underrated as far as his ability to defend. And remember, okay, so he made the mistake in Paul Ricard, but before then, in 2022, he defended beautifully and drove away from Max Verstappen. I think when he's had his Weetabix.
Just remind me, what was OJP's greatest move? Did you say again? Your favourite?
Oh, you're true. Baku. Techie. Yeah, techie. But I mean, you've got to, but certain instances, chap, you've got to give I think you've got to just give the overtake. You know, when it's one of those ones where you're just like Lewis in 21
that was for
on
the
Max.
lead of the race.
No. But ultimately, such a god tier maneuver. You can't.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You can't. How do you defend against that? The placement of the car is forensic. He didn't expect it. He didn't even see him coming because he was too far. Checked his mirrors and he's a gazillion meters down the track, and then all of a sudden he's like Raiden in Mortal Kombat, and he's alongside you. Going like it's mad. You can't. You can't knock Shaw.
I think with Leclerc though, this is very Max specific again, right? This is like Max got past everyone other than Ocon, but it's a different story.
And couldn't do Charles until Charles pitted.
And again, I think that's a Leclerc Max specific thing. They're a difficult one to separate out. Right?
So go on, if not Charles,
I think actually Alonso probably does it, man. He's
yeah, when he's at his Weetabix, he's
you know what I mean. Like, he's so clever about it, but he never crosses the line with it.
Does he not? No, he's quite neat. He's quite neat.
He'll trick you into colliding with him.
George, Australia, 24.
Right.
Yeah.
Spa 22 on Lewis.
Chaos.
Right. So he's quite clever at like, if you're going to get past me, you're going to go out, and it won't be my fault.
Okay, go on then. Let's go Alonso in the sake of, because I need to pick your brain on a couple of different buds. Go on then, and finally, mentality. For those of you who are just joining, I want to give you context. This is important. Max has given these guys of the current ones on the grid as having the best attributes as far as quality, racing, intelligence, overtaking, defending, and mentality. Mentality, Shez. Fernando Alonso or somebody else, mate.
What does it mean? Can you tell me what does mentality mean?
Who's got the best mentality? Who's best equipped as far as their mentality to win races and therefore championships? Who has the best mentality in the car? Is unfazed, doesn't lose their rag. I think that's what they're referring to there, chap. But use your creative license.
It's got to be Oscar then, doesn't it?
True. It's a good shout. It's a very good shout. But like Lewis as well, though, is
exactly. Lewis is
a shout. When he's got his back again, context is key, right? When he's got his back up against the wall and he's angry. And
if you're talking about mentality, that's where I put Lewis. Like Lewis, like you tell Lewis he's not going to win another championship. He's like, no, I'm not going to win another championship, and he just keeps going, keeps working, keeps doing the thing. That to me is what when I think of mentality, that motivation to keep going. I'm not going to get married. I don't have kids. All of that, because he's like, this is my focus.
Yeah, no,
I'm not going to race in any other championship because this is my focus.
I think Lewis is.
I'm not even going to take a year off like all of my other compatriots have.
No, I think Lewis must get a sniffy, but then he says all that bloody Nora about he's going to focus entirely on not winning his 8th, but winning his first Ferrari. And the next time I open Twitter, I see him at the Met Gala. He's opening Fanatics bloody stalls and whatever. But still,
I think, by the way.
I know, it's a good store, but do you know what I mean? Contradiction into. I will say that Lewis, when he's had his Weetabix, I'd probably like to steal his mentality and impose it upon my perfect driver. By the way, let me read out Sir John. Sir John says, thanks, Yoko. You might be onto something. Alonso is a great defender and is also cunning. Emmanuel says 2014, Lewis, Bahrain, 2024, Hungary. Macon says, how can you recall all these races? Getting old can be challenging. Me and you both, Macon. Oh, and by the way, Shez, I need to pick your brain on this. Yeah, George Russell and Toto as you round third base. What do you make of the shenanigans, Matt? Apparently, word on the F1 curb is something in which you want to be invested. George Russell had himself a 1+1 on the table. He said, what do you want about 1+1? I'm the leader of the team. Toto, the boy who cried wolf. You're meant to be invested in me. Don't you see that I'm potentially driver of the season thus far after Maximilian Verstappen? How very dare you give me a 1+1? What are you on about? Rejected. And now Toto's like, well, you know what, mate? How about some of them Maximilian Verstappens? He might not be 2026 Mercedes driver, but I want him 2027. You've seen the pictures of him on the yacht. Toto has made no secret out of his desire to sign one Maximilian Verstappen. And then you get this latest news that George has a 2+1 potentially on the table, but isn't signing it. He wants more money. He wants less responsibilities as far as sponsorship. And I don't blame him, Shez. If Lando and Oscar are getting 30 million each, then you got to give George Russell that at the very least. And plus, I feel like George has every right to feel disrespected. Is Max Verstappen the better driver? Of course he is. Nobody would argue anything to the contrary. But yet, still,
George would.
Yeah, and that's up to him because he's an F1 driver and that's his prerogative. You wouldn't expect anything other than that. But yet and still, put some respect on George Russell's name. What do you make of this latest standoff between Toto and George, Shez?
Yeah, I think George is doing absolutely the right thing. This is exactly how I'd expect him to respond. He's been all nicey when everyone's been talking about. Well, in fact, he brought it up that of course Mercedes have been talking to Max. Why wouldn't they? He's the best driver on the grid, like parroting pretty much word for word what Toto's been saying. Now Max is off the table for 2026. Toto, remember all that stuff you said about Max? Yeah. Who have you got now? What are you going to do? You're going to rely on Kimi Antonelli to be your lead driver? If that's what you want, I'm happy. I'll go somewhere else.
Mate.
Show me the money. Show me the years.
Chaos.
Yeah, I'm totally with him on this, right? He is the most underrated and the most under-respected driver on the grid. And it is all because he hasn't had a car yet to show that he can win races and championships. He's like an angrier, more smart version of Charles. Sorry, Charles. But just in terms of the way he plays it politically, like Charles will stick with Ferrari no matter what. You want to give me a pay cut? Sure, I'll take a pay cut as long as I'm still driving for Ferrari. Whereas George is like, okay, you've had your fun, Toto, but you might undervalue me, but I don't undervalue me, and this team shouldn't undervalue me. Show me the money. Absolutely the right thing to do. And if he loses George and doesn't have Max in the car, I think Toto will have nobody to blame but himself.
Mate, I think I don't know. I think we're heading now. I think it's almost inevitable at this point that in 2027 we get some George and Max action in the same car in Mercedes. I think we're heading. I think it's almost it's going to happen, chap. There's my call. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I can see it now because you can't.
I was hoping for next year that we were going to get that, but it's not to
sadly,
be.
But... No. Max is loyal enough to give Red Bull just one more chance at love when they bottle it, because Lauren Mekies is saying that there's no way that they can have the power unit of a Mercedes or Ferrari, that the expectation is too reachy.
In and of itself.
Mate, it's done. It's a wrap. Sign the contract now. Get Max in that car alongside George. Make F1 great again, chap. Oh, and by the way, speaking of that, this is important, Shez. Over the past week, I've been beating the Max Verstappen drum for a long time now. People accuse me of being a Max. I mean, he's not been too bad, right? Do you know what I mean? If he keeps his nose clean, he might win a couple championships when all is said and done. That Max fella. Mention no names, the British Grand Prix, Saudi Arabia, bloody Suzuka as well. And this weekend just got... Listen, people have criticised me for being overly effusive in my praise of Max, and then over the past week, particularly over the course of the Italian Grand Prix race weekend, all of a sudden, Shez, something's happened. There's been a paradigm shift as far as the way that the words and the verbiage with which people are characterising how good Max is now. Damon's come out. Before it was, he uses Dick Dastardly tactics. If everybody overtakes like Max Verstappen, then nobody will ever overtake and stick one on anybody ever again. It was sport doesn't build character, it reveals character. Now Damon's done one of these. Have you ever seen a greater 180? It's like, well, you know what, to be fair, Max is like the driver of his era. Nico Rosberg came out and said something similar on the Sky F1 broadcast, that he's top 5 F1 drivers ever, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Simon said that, the Red Bull was a very fast car. Nico corrects him and says, no, it wasn't a fast car, it was a fast driver, Simon, in Maximilian Verstappen. What's happened, Shez, and how do you feel, sir, to be on the right side of history?
Thanks for that. I think the excuses are starting to die away, aren't they? I don't think my opinion of him when a championship's on the line and he's got to go wheel to wheel with someone has changed. I think he still is a bit questionable every now and again, but that doesn't, all the greats are, but actually what he is and what he represents is something like that we have never seen before. That, again, nature versus nurture, but this is the perfect balance of the genetics of having two talented racing drivers as your parents, both of them, and then being hammered in the art of racing from the age of 4 years old, and every facet of it, no stone left unturned in the pursuit of not just excellence, Cameron, perfection. That's what he is. That's what he has been. But it is, though, isn't it? That's what he has been imbued with. That's what he has been taught to do. He's been a hunter killer from the year he was first put in a cart. 4, I think it was, is what I read. And it's all of that experience, everything, and not just that. It's not just that he has experience and has built that up as a learned thing. It's that he knows how to progress. Like if he is weak in any particular area, every driver is as a rookie, right? He knows what he needs to do to effectively get better, and year on year on year on year, we just see a better version of Max. And I think this season, all of the excuses that anybody has had, and I'm one of them. I've been guilty of this as well. That he had a rocket ship in 2023. He was defending a lead in 2024. All of that is gone when you start to look at what he does. When he is the only other driver on the grid outside of the 2 McLarens that you think every race potentially has a chance, and the leaderboard also doesn't lie. He is what, 3rd in the championship at the moment?
Yeah, still.
We're a Red Bull in the championship.
Insane. Last, I don't know.
It's just mental. I don't know. I can't gush about him any more. But I don't think in this era there is a better driver. And every era has its driver, and he is unequivocally the best of this era. And I have said to you, and I go back to it, that I think that this is possibly the strongest grid potentially there has ever been, and he is the best of that grid, and by a massive margin. That should tell you what I think of him.
Insane chap. The F1 maths is mathing as far as Maximilian Verstappen being a first round Hall of Famer, Mount Rushmore on F1. He's not bad.
Yeah, he's on there now.
He's not bad. I think the evidence now is too vast. I think all of the Max Verstappen naysayers have had to say, well, I mean, you make yourself look stupid, right? If you're saying, oh, Max can only do it in a that was the chant before. Max Verstappen is a fast car merchant. Soon I need to see him in a car that's not quick, and this is why I said for the longest time was beating the Max Verstappen glazed drum. I know that Max wants to destroy. It's not enough for Max to win. He wants to destroy his enemies. He wants to obliterate the field to the tune of 60 seconds, and I get it. But what Max needed as far as his legacy, if we're talking F1 barbershop stuff, is this an RB21 that won't turn, a McLaren MCL39 with its double brake duct that has 0 or reverse steg even, and then nail them at the British Grand Prix in quali, nail them at Suzuka, make it look easy almost, be inevitable when you don't have the quickest car. And that's why all of a sudden the Max Verstappen nays who've been so vocal, vociferous erstwhile, are now cowering before a very bright, light, of truth. He's not being bad. Macon says, well, I'm even going to give Max Verstappen credit for taking so much downforce off his car last week and still keeping it on the... Talk to me about this, man. In fact, Ben, put a pin in that, Shez. This is really important. I'll come back to that. OG Zilla says, maybe we'll see Charles take George's seat if he keeps dismissing Toto's contracts. Lazy says, I think a lot of good drivers miss out because of timing. True. Charles isn't leaving Ferrari. I don't see that. Shez is right. No more excuses anymore, says Safak. Doesn't look good behind the scenes at Ferrari. I think Charles and George switch could happen. Address, as we round third base, Shez, because you've been super generous with your time as per usual. Address this thing, chap, because I think a lot of people, a lot of the source was lost as far as what Max Verstappen did in taking downforce off his car and being able still to match Lando and OJP through Lesmo 1 and 2 and bloody Ascari. What's going on there, chap? Explain that. And Parabolica, by the way. How and what's worse, Shez, less downforce and less mistakes through their turns. What? How? Explain this to me, Shez, because I simply don't understand.
Yeah, well, he wasn't following. He was on pole, and so like, he got an impossible lap out like, didn't he? But so as far as I understand it, the Ferrari had the least had the flattest rear wing of the top four, didn't it?
Charles's did, but I think Lewis had a bit more downforce. But continue.
But I think there was a little bit of a combo here between Red Bull and Max. So, Max did a thing which I'm going to talk about in a second. But Red Bull made the start. They realised that unlike last season, they needed a Monza specific wing. They had one, and then further to their Monza specific wing, they cut some bits out of it as well. So it was even less draggy than the one that they initially brought to the weekend. And then Max did his thing, right? So we all know that what Max likes is a pointy front end that allows him to turn the wheel aggressively early to then float the car into the apex. And if you have that aggressive front end, the rear end will always float. It will always get a bit loose. And Max's magic is that he has a higher threshold for being able to handle that rear instability. It means that you could just pile on the front end and he'll just hang on to the back. And if you look at a computer simulation of what the best lap of a Formula One car is, that's the best way to do it. Just have a super pointy front end because you get that rotation. And somehow the rear end just sticks. Just most drivers can't deal with that because they don't have any confidence in the rear end with that pointiness at the front. Now, where is that going to pay dividends the most? Monza, because you want to have zero downforce on the rear wing, don't you? So what does he do? He doubles down on the front end. He asks Red Bull to whack on even more front downforce on the front wing, which means he has an even pointier front end and an even looser rear end. But Max being Max, that he performs his magic on that, still has that pointy front end. So he gets the best of both worlds. He gets perfect turning, which means that he's super fast, but able to do what he wants to do across that lap, but also has no rear wing when he's going down all the big straights, which means that he's fast in a straight line, he's fast in the corners, in a way that the McLarens actually, even with their optimum setup, couldn't do, because the McLaren drivers couldn't handle that front end. They tried it and they just said car's undrivable.
Insane, chap. Absolutely insane. That is nuts. That this chap, I just don't get it. Joe says that
it's an engineer's wet dream, basically, isn't it?
But even to that point, Shez, like normally they bark up the simulation tree. This time Max said, you know what, sat that off, and Lauren Mecky's listened to him. It's insane. Joe makes the point. He says he's not in the same car, Max, so saying he's outperforming them in specific turns makes no sense. It makes no sense, Joe, and here's why. The point needs to be precise. Those McLarens, that MCL 39 its natural habitat where it performs best is in medium speed turns, the likes of which are Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. They have more downforce going through there, so they should be quicker going through there, or be able to take a higher minimum speed at least than Maximilian Verstappen. So I don't understand. Everybody else was losing time through sector 2 to the McLarens. I don't understand.
Purples.
I don't even understand. I don't understand how Max Verstappen, is able to match Lando and Oscar in the best car on the grid through the turns where that MCL 39 with its double brake duct and its bloody aerodynamic efficiency is at its best. That makes no sense to me, Shez.
Shouldn't make any sense, should it?
I've been watching this sport a while, chap, and somebody needs to explain this to me. This is F1 Fermat's last theorem for which we need to solve, and I don't get it, Shez. I don't understand. Put some respect on that.
He is Gandalf behind the wheel, my friend.
He's all right, chap. Do you know what I mean? As far as being able to manipulate the car in and on around the limits of adhesion, I'd say at the time of writing that the 11th of the 9th, 2025, there is none better. Shazena, you've been an absolute legend as per usual. Too generous with your time. If you enjoy God tier market leading purple sector F1 insights from Shazena,
you're already on the right channel.
Behave yourself. There will be a link in the description. Tired GP is the pick to click. You guys have been legends. Sir John Perry, Sir Charles Edward Cheese, Matthew Brown, every single one of you in the chat. I'm grateful ad infinitum in perpetuity to each and every single one of you, and I make no apologies for labouring that point. Between now and next time, same place next week, remember to look but never